Alright, let's talk about kitchens. You probably think your kitchen is pretty great, with its fancy air fryer and that espresso machine you swear you'll use someday. But what if I told you that the real origin story of your kitchen isn't about stainless steel or granite countertops? No, it's about rocks, fire, and a serious lack of ventilation. We're going back in time, way back, to when the hottest new real estate on the market was a literal hole in a mountain. That's right, we're diving into the world of humanity's first kitchens, caves, and spoiler alert, they were a lot more influential and probably a lot smokier than you ever imagined. Welcome to FoodSaga, like, subscribe, and comment for more. Let's start. So picture this, you're an early human. Your daily to-do list is brutally simple. Don't get eaten, find something to eat, and try not to freeze to death. Real estate options are, shall we say, limited. You've got open plains, which offer a lovely 360-degree view of all the things that want to turn you into a light snack. Or you could find a nice, cozy cave. Suddenly, you have a roof that won't blow away, walls that a saber-toothed cat can't just stroll through, and a single entrance you can actually defend. It's the prehistoric equivalent of a gated community, minus the homeowners association fees. This is where shelter and fire had their glorious first date. Caves provided the perfect, non-flammable location to finally tame the wild, terrifying, and incredibly useful element of fire. You couldn't just light a bonfire in the middle of a forest and hope for the best. That's how you lose your security deposit and, burn down your entire world, but inside a cave. You've got a natural stone fortress, a fireproof box where you could build a hearth and control the flames. It was the ultimate safety feature. Fire wasn't just for warmth, it was a security system. No predator with a healthy sense of self-preservation was going to wander into a flickering, smoke-filled cavern. The cave offered protection from the elements, and the fire inside offered protection from everything else. It was the perfect symbiotic relationship, turning a damp, dark hole into the first ever human home. It was humanity's first smart home, and the main feature was doesn't immediately kill you now. Once you've got a roof over your head and a fire that isn't threatening to consume the continent, what's the next logical step? Dinner, obviously, and this is where things get really interesting. Archaeologists, those wonderful people who get excited about old dirt and broken pots, have found fascinating evidence inside these caves. They've unearthed distinct, organized areas centered around hearths, prehistoric fireplaces. These weren't just random piles of burnt stuff. We're talking about dedicated cooking spaces. You'd find a collection of charred animal bones, but not just any bones. These bones often had cut marks on them, indicating that the meat had been butchered before it hit the heat. This wasn't some chaotic, accidental barbecue. This was intentional, organized meal prep. It shows that our ancestors were already thinking like chefs, or at least like very methodical line cooks. They had a specific spot for the fire, and around it, they had their workstation. You might find a collection of sharpened flint tools in one corner, the prehistoric equivalent of a chef's knife set. In another, a pile of discarded bones, the trash can of the Paleolithic era. This wasn't just a place where they happened to cook. It was a place they designed for cooking. They were creating zones, separating the kitchen from the living room and the sleeping area. It's the very first open concept floor plan, and it was born out of pure, unadulterated practicality. Your kitchen is where the food happens. Don't sleep where you butcher the mammoth, it just gets messy. Let's be honest, living in a cave probably had its downsides. The dampness, the creepy crawlies, and the distinct lack of plumbing come to mind. But with a controlled fire, everything changed. Suddenly, the cave wasn't just a dark, cold shelter, it was a home. The fire provided two of the most essential luxuries known to humanity, smoke and light. Light, for starters, was a game changer. For the first time, the day didn't end when the sun went down. You could see. You could work on tools, tend to the sick, or just, not trip over a rock and break your neck in the dark. Light pushed back the shadows and made the cave a truly usable 24/7 living space. It extended the day and, with it, the potential for productivity and social interaction. And then there's the smoke. Today, we have ventilation hoods and open windows. Back then, not so much. A cave filled with smoke might sound like a design flaw, but it was also an accidental feature. The smoke helped to keep insects at bay. A major plus when your home is also a home for a million other tiny creatures. And the constant warmth from the hearth transformed a frigid stone tomb into a cozy refuge. The fire was the heart of the home, a central point of warmth, light, and safety that made long-term settlement possible. It was the original central heating and lighting system, all powered by wood and a bit of clever engineering. It turned a geological feature into a human institution. Of course, where there's cooking, there are people. And where there are people, there's drama, gossip, and the formation of society. The act of gathering around a fire to cook and eat was revolutionary. It wasn't just about sustenance anymore, it became a social event. Imagine the scene, a few families huddled around the central hearth, the smell of roasting meat in the air. While one person tends to the fire, another is butchering the day's catch. Others might be crafting tools or sharing stories. This is where community was forged. Cooking together required cooperation and communication. You had to decide who was hunting, who was gathering, who was watching the fire, and who was in charge of making sure little Ugg didn't stick his hand in the flames. These shared tasks and shared meals strengthened social bonds. It was over these primitive dinners that language likely evolved beyond simple grunts and warnings. You're sharing food, so you need to be able to say, "Hey, pass the roasted bison leg," or "Careful, that part's a bit burnt." This was the birth of the dinner table conversation. The hearth became a social hub, the central point of the community where knowledge was passed down, plans were made, and relationships were built. It was the original water cooler, but with more open flames and significantly better snacks. The shared meal became a ritual, a cornerstone of early human culture that cemented us as social creatures. So when you look at your sleek, modern kitchen with its microwave, refrigerator, and dishwasher, it's easy to feel disconnected from our primitive past. But every time you decide what to make for dinner, every time you gather with family or friends to share a meal, you are participating in a tradition that is hundreds of thousands of years old. Those early hearths, built in the back of smoky, firelit caves, were more than just places to burn food. They were the first, fumbling attempts by humanity to design a space dedicated to the art and science of cooking. They were the direct ancestors of your kitchen. Every kitchen layout, from the galley to the L-shape to the island, is just a modern iteration of that ancient principle, a dedicated space for preparing food. The hearth was the first kitchen island. The sharp rocks were the first set of knives. The pile of bones was the first compost bin. From these humble beginnings, the concept of the kitchen evolved. It grew from a simple fire pit into the complex, technologically advanced heart of the modern home. So the next time you complain about having to unload the dishwasher, just remember, at least you don't have to butcher a woolly rhino on the floor and hope the smoke doesn't choke you out before dinner is ready. Your kitchen story didn't start with a showroom or a design magazine. It started in a cave with our ancestors figuring out that a good meal is even better when you have a roof over your head and a fire to share. Thanks for watching FoodSaga. Like, subscribe, and see you next time.